Hello, everybody. This is David Royer. I'm going to be hosting this webinar, and we're going to get started right now. First of all, I want to thank all of you for taking time from your day to sign on to this webinar. We've got a lot of fun things we're going to go over today, and things that are going to be very useful in your practice, and that's going to be effective immediately. So again, thank you for being on. This webinar is scheduled to last just under 40 minutes, and it will be recorded. And incidentally, you will automatically, either sometime later today or early tomorrow, you'll get an email from me, and that will have a link to the recorded webinar. So if you'd like to listen to it again, or if you have other advisors that you'd like to share it with, it'll be there. Also, everybody on this webinar is at sometime this afternoon, you're going to receive a link to a PDF of my book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes. You get an opportunity to read the book so that you can decide for yourself if this is something that's going to be helpful in your practice. So a little quick background. Back in 2002, there were some major changes in the tax code, and that really changed IRA distribution planning from that day forward. But it also, and more importantly, it created a tremendous financial planning opportunity for those of you that sell annuities, managed money, and life insurance. So we're going to be talking about those opportunities. So with that, we're going to get right down to it. Oh, and incidentally, this particular class is sponsored by Insurance WebEx, and they are America's leading source of educational web classes. Because it's being sponsored by Insurance WebEx, we're going to be talking about some things that you may want to use in your practice, and you're going to see some very deep discounts. Now, name of my company is DLCA Enterprises, LLC, and we are in the education business. We are in the business of training agents to become proficient in IRA distribution planning. We are in the business of building props that will help you be more successful in capturing those IRA rollover accounts. Let me tell you what we are not. We are not a field marketing organization. You are not being recruited. So what we are about, it's about selling more annuities, life insurance, and managed money to owners of qualified accounts, and that includes IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, SEPs, etc. So we've developed two things that will help you be more effective in that arena. The first is a course I built back in 2002 when the tax laws changed, and I launched it nationally in 2005. To date, we've had over 5,000 advisors attend this course, and in 2010, I put the course online to make it more available and so that you could actually go through that training 24/7. I also authored the book Top 10 IRA Mistakes and How to Avoid IRS Tax Traps. This is a consumer prospecting book written in simple English. It's designed to show your prospects all the bad things that could happen with their IRAs and all the things that you can do to make sure that doesn't occur. So the keys to the IRA kingdom is actually an IRA 401k rollover training system, and the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, is an IRA 401k rollover marketing system. So today's featured subject is going to be how do you use your client's current beneficiary forms to close large IRA and 401k rollover cases. And folks, when you see how simple this is, for many people that have taken my course, I've been told that this one piece of information has helped them close more business than anything else in the course. So today I'm going to share you really some of the cream from the course. But before we get into it, the big question is, why would you want to focus your practice on the qualified market? So I'm going to give you a lot of answers. We know that 401k plans have all but replaced defined benefit pension plans. So essentially, defined benefit pension plans are a thing of the past. So the day of putting in your 20 years, retiring, getting a gold watch and a paycheck for the rest of your life, those days are gone. And now consumers have to be more responsible for their own retirement. We've got 10,000 boomers that are making IRA 401k rollover decisions every single day. And you know, folks, most of these boomers' 401k plans are worth more than the equity in their homes. That's why these plans are so critically important to them. Over 70% of 401ks and 403b plans, TSP plans, etc., allow what's called an in-service rollover, which means you don't have to wait until they have a break in service. You don't have to wait until they retire. People that are in these plans right now, if they're concerned about the market being at an all-time high and losing money and they want to protect their gains, if they're over age 59 and a half, they can do what's called an in-service transfer, get that money out of harm's way, and continue to make get company matching funds and continue to make contributions. We also have 4,000 seniors that are turning 70 and a half every day with no formal distribution plan. They're making tons of mistakes. For example, failing to take an RMD, they could lose up to 80% of that distribution if they fail to take it timely. According to LIMRA, there's $16.9 trillion in qualified accounts, and that's expected to grow to $22 trillion by the year 2030. Also, according to LIMRA, the IRA rollover market is expected to increase to $515 billion per year by the year 2018. So getting back to the question, why focus on the qualified market? The answer is very simple. That's where the opportunity is. And there are some more answers to that. Like I said earlier, defined benefit plans are a thing of the past. So most boomers are going to retire today with their 401k, might be an IRA, could be an SEP, and Social Security. Because of that, Social Security and 401k plans have really become the hot buttons for boomers. So, and boomers will soon represent the majority of the retirement market. So getting back to the question, why focus on the qualified market? Because that's where the retirement market is growing. I'm going to give you an example. This chart shows the trend of the number of people over age 65 in the United States. Now, it goes all the way back to 1900, and I know nobody cares about that, but it's projected through 2030. So if you look at where we are right now, we have approximately 10,000 boomers that are turning 65 every day and needing to make those very important, am I going to leave my money in the 401k, the TSP, the 403b, or am I going to take control of those funds and roll it to an IRA? In less than 10 years, this generation will control the overwhelming wealth of this nation. And because of that, I'll make this statement. This is the biggest event in the history of the financial services industry. Never before has there been 17 trillion identifiable dollars that is going to go into motion over the next handful of years via IRA, 401k, and 403b rollovers. Now, I want to spend a moment talking about accumulation versus distribution. My course is really an IRA distribution training course. Let me tell you why that's so important. During the accumulation period, life is very simple. You know, they're making their contributions to their 401ks, or maybe getting company matching funds, or making contributions to their IRAs. They really only had three things to consider. One, am I eligible to contribute? Number two, how much can I contribute? And number three, where do I put the money? So life was very simple. They were getting a tax break. There was no IRS payday in there, so there wasn't a lot of government and IRS scrutiny. However, everything changes when they go into the distribution phase because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time when the IRS wants to collect their payday, and this is when they inform you that, hey, this isn't all your money. Part of this money is mine, and I'm going to force you to take it so I can tax you. And the Internal Revenue Code is strewn with landmines during this distribution period, and this is where the mistakes are made. So we're going to be talking today not about those that are trying to accumulate money in their qualified plans, but those that are approaching that distribution phase. So we're talking that 65 on up age group. A little bit about the changes in the prospects we deal with today. Like I said in the past, they had defined benefit pension plans. They were comfortable. They had their gold watch. They had their retirement party. Not so today. Today, they're going to retire with predominantly two sources of retirement income. One is going to be the money they built up in their 401k or IRA plans, and the other is going to be Social Security. So with these two types of plans, they have three challenges, and the challenges are taxes, risk, and inflation. So let's look at the 401k IRA. All three come into play. There is risk, particularly if you're in a 401k, you're probably in a mutual fund. The market's riding the highest it's ever been. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. Also, inflation. What's the value of that money going to be when you start taking it out for income? And 401k and IRA and 403b money is going to be the most taxed dollars that they have. On the Social Security side of the equation, they're concerned about taxation. Am I going to have to pay taxes on my Social Security? And also, when's the appropriate time to begin Social Security? Age 62, age 66, age 70, etc. So those are the things that they're concerned. And, you know, if you're reading the same articles I'm reading, everything is indicating that this generation is looking for the right advisor. They're looking for somebody that has the skill set, the training, the knowledge, the experience to guide them through that IRS minefield and lead them to the most comfortable retirement available to them. They're actually seeking us. Now, where the qualified money is just as important as how much qualified money there is. And what we learn from the Investment Company Institute. 47% of that roughly $17 trillion is currently in mutual funds. A lot of that's in 401ks and 403bs. There's an additional 36% that is in other securities, and banks and thrifts control only 10% of that money, and insurance companies have roughly 8% in the form of annuity reserves. Now, if you had the tools and the techniques to show your clients when they leave that accumulation phase and go into the distribution phase, if you could prove to them that insurance companies are excellent administrators and custodians of qualified accounts during that distribution phase, you would have a tool that would help you increase your IRA rollover business. Now, let me point out something else. If you add together the 47% that is in mutual funds to the 36% in other securities, you will see that 83% of that roughly $17 trillion of qualified money at one form or another is at risk on Wall Street. So that's where the opportunity is. And that creates a tremendous opportunity for annuity, life, and managed money producers. So this is really about how do you become the IRA rollover expert in your market area? How do you get in front of large numbers of qualified prospects that have these large IRAs and 401ks and other types of retirement plans? And how do you capture those accounts? How do you attract that consumer to you? And how do you become the expert in in-service 401k rollovers? As I said earlier, you don't have to wait till they retire. You don't have to wait till there's a break in service. They can turn 59 and a half. They can remove that money from risk, roll it to an IRA, continue to make contributions, and continue to enjoy company matching funds. So how do you use IRA and 401k rollover opportunities to grow your practice? So we've developed the IRA 401k rollover system, and a part of it is the book I wrote, Top 10 IRA Mistakes. Folks, this book, anybody can understand it. It's written in simple language. It goes through the top 10 mistakes people can make. It alludes to the fact that there are solutions, but it's designed to drive the consumer to come back to you to get that second opinion. And we've also built the course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom, which is now 10 hours of online IRA distribution training. So we're going to be talking about how to use beneficiary forms. We're going to get right down to the meat of this now to capture IRA and 401k rollover accounts. Now, the information I'm going to share with you came from two sources. Excuse me. Part of it came from my book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, and part of it came from the course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom. We kind of mixed a little bit of both of this together so that we could really give you something of value that you can begin to use in your practice immediately. So from the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, mistake number 3 is not properly designating beneficiaries. Folks, this is a huge mistake, and I'm going to show you in a minute how 99% of beneficiary forms are completed incorrectly. So here's the point. Only designated beneficiaries can stretch their inheritance out over their life expectancy and spread out those taxes. They have to be, and this is an IRS term, designated beneficiaries. So the other thing you need to know is only the IRA owner or inheriting spouse can designate a beneficiary for the purpose of stretching distributions to those non-spousal beneficiaries. That would include children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whoever they select. So this is a decision that has to be made prior to that second death, because I'll repeat it. Only the IRA owner, could be IRA, 401k, etc., or inheriting spouse can designate beneficiaries that will allow their non-spousal beneficiaries to stretch those distributions as opposed to having to pay all those taxes within a 5-year period. It's a very important piece of information. Now, there are 2 ways to set up non-spousal beneficiaries. One is called the 2-tier approach. And folks, this is how 99% of beneficiary forms are set up. I'm going to show you in a moment. It's a huge mistake. The other approach we call the 1-tier approach. Now, if you're familiar with the stretch IRA, essentially the premise is when the IRA owner and spouse are gone, the children and grandchildren can stretch their distributions over their life expectancy and defer the taxes. And you see, and so you hear a lot about it can be stretched over 3 generations, and that's true. But the way you set up these beneficiary forms is very critical. So knowing the difference between the 2-tier approach and the 1-tier approach is going to be critical in your practice. So I want to start out with the 2-tier approach. And folks, this is the wrong one, and this is the way 99% of beneficiary forms are going to be set up. Typically, they're set up this way. If I'm the IRA owner, my spouse is my primary beneficiary, and my children are my contingent beneficiaries. I'm sure you agree that when you look at somebody's beneficiary document, that's the way it's going to look 99% of the time. So here's what that looks like when it comes to the stretch distribution. It goes from the IRA owner to the spouse. They're considered as one tier. And then they have two children. That's tier number 2 that can stretch the distributions. And if they've only named the spouse and the children, that's where it is. So these grandchildren are not designated beneficiaries because they're down here on a 3rd tier. So what happens if it's set up that way? Essentially, the grandchildren are disinherited. Here's why. When child 1 and child 2 inherit, they're able to defer the taxes because they are designated beneficiaries, designated either by the IRA owner or inheriting spouse. So they are designated. They have the right to stretch out those distributions and continue to enjoy tax deferral and earn interest on the majority of the money. But the grandchildren got disinherited using this approach. So now let me show you the correct way to do this. This is the 1-tier approach. We have the IRA owner and spouse. Remember, they're the only 2 that can designate beneficiaries, allowing those beneficiaries to spread out the distributions. So instead of making just the children the beneficiaries, so we make child 1 and child 2 beneficiaries, but at the same time and on the same 1 tier of beneficiaries, we pop in the grandchildren. So here we have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. They all have to inherit at the same time. If they don't, these grandchildren, again, will get disinherited. So by setting this up with 1 tier of contingent beneficiaries as opposed to 2 tiers, the grandchildren are now designated beneficiaries, cannot be disinherited, and will have the right to spread those distributions over their very much longer life expectancy, providing them tax deferral for as long as 83 years, which is the life expectancy of a 0-year-old who inherits part of these IRA accounts. This is really important. So how do you use this information to capture rollover accounts? It's very simple. When you sit down with the client, wherever their money is, look at that beneficiary form first. Most of them are set up using the 2-tier approach. The spouse is the primary, the children are contingent, and the grandchildren are excluded or disinherited. To get the ball rolling, you need to ask one very important question if you want to capture that IRA rollover account. And this is the way I would couch it. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, there's really nothing wrong with the way your beneficiary forms are set up. It's set up, Mr. Jones, when you pass away to go to your wife, and Mrs. Jones, when you pass away, that money is then going to be passed on to your children. However, I have one question for you. Are you intentionally disinheriting your grandchildren? And ladies and gentlemen, I assure you, when you ask them that question, you are going to get an immediate reaction. They're going to say, what do you mean? I'm not disinheriting my grandchildren. What are you talking about? Well, let's go on. You run 2 stretch IRA illustrations. Now, the first one you run as only the children as contingent beneficiaries, and the second one you run the children and grandchildren together inheriting at the same time using that 1-tier approach, so that they all inherit at the same time, and the grandchildren now are also contingent beneficiaries. So I'm just going to give you an example. I ran these illustrations the other day, and I just pulled the numbers off to share with you in a simple format. I used a male 65, his spouse was 65, they had one child, age 35, and 2 grandchildren, ages 11 and 14. I'm going to go through this kind of slowly because this is really important. So they got a $200,000 IRA, 1 child and 2 grandchildren. If it's set up on the 2-tier approach, which means the child's going to inherit 100%, so it goes from IRA owner to spouse to child, at a 5% rate of return, here's what would happen. Using normal life expectancies, the owner will have taken out RMDs of $177,000 over his life expectancy. We're going to assume the spouse lives 3 years longer, could be 4 or 5. There's no interruption of income. The spouse is going to continue to take income. Total RMDs would be just over $34,000. Then the child inherits what's left, and taking distributions over that child's life expectancy, they'll take out a total of $584,000. It looks good. It's attractive. So the total RMDs or total distribution from that $200,000 IRA came out to $797,000. And when you show that to somebody, they're going to get excited and say, well, then I guess there's nothing wrong. Everything's perfect. Well, not so. On the second illustration, you make the child and grandchildren contingent beneficiaries after the spouse. And in this illustration, I gave 60% to the child and 20% each to each of the grandchildren. Now you notice nothing changes here. The owner's going to have the same RMD, same life expectancy, same thing with the spouse. Now the child's going to have a little bit less total payout because we've given some of that money to the grandchildren. But grandchild number one is going to have $221,000 over their entire life expectancy. Grandchild number two, the younger one, that's $244,000. The total payout now jumped from $797,000 to over $1 million. So we did two things. One, we asked that all-important question: are you intentionally disinheriting your grandchildren? And that's going to, like I said, that's going to get an immediate reaction. And then we back up with numbers to show them by disinheriting your grandchildren and having this beneficiary form set up improperly, it's going to cost a difference of total payout. It's coming up right now. Here we go. $231,000 higher payout using the stretch if you use that right column and you make those grandchildren inherit at the same time that the child does. Folks, that's the one-tier approach, and this is how you can lay it out. Now, when you go through this process with the client, number one, you've uncovered a problem, and number two, you have offered a solution. You've proved it with illustrations. Your likelihood of capturing that rollover account is going to go up tenfold. Since we're talking about beneficiary forms, I want to impress upon you how important they are. There was a United States Supreme Court ruling on planned beneficiary forms, and this was in the case of Kennedy versus the plan administrator for DuPont Savings and Investment Plan. And this case was settled by the United States Supreme Court on January 26th, the year 2009. Now, as you know, when the Supreme Court settles a case, it now becomes law of the land. It becomes the precedent. Well, here were the circumstances. The United States Supreme Court unanimously ruled that William Kennedy's ex-spouse received his $402,000 retirement plan because she was the named beneficiary on the beneficiary form. Well, so far that's fine. If you want to leave your money to your ex-spouse, I think that's probably uncommon, but if you want to, you're welcome to. But here's the reality. They got divorced in 1994, and under the divorce decree, Mrs. Kennedy, the ex-spouse, waived all of her rights and any benefits to this retirement plan. So it's kind of one of those deals like he got the boat, she got the car, she got the house, he got the retirement plan. They both agreed that they wanted anything left in that retirement plan at his death to be paid to their only child, their daughter. Mr. Kennedy died in 2001. Well, guess what happened? The plan administrator, DuPont Savings and Investment, contacted Mrs. Kennedy and said, hey, we have the death certificate. You're the designated beneficiary. How would you like these proceeds paid? Well, Mrs. Kennedy immediately said, you can't pay this to me. This has to be paid to my daughter. We have a decree of divorce. It has a more current date than the beneficiary form. I'll fax that to you so that you can pay it to her. And they said, well, go ahead and fax us whatever documents you have. Well, she faxed the documents to DuPont Savings and Investment. About 2 weeks later, she got another call saying, well, you know, Mrs. Kennedy, unfortunately, you are protected because you are the designated beneficiary. We cannot pay these proceeds to your daughter. Well, Mrs. Kennedy started thinking, well, you know, that $402,000, that sure could make my retirement years a little bit more comfortable. And, you know, although our only daughter and her husband may be struggling a little bit, they're young, they'll pull through, they'll be just fine. And she said, okay, put it in my account. And she accepted the money. The daughter, who knew that she was supposed to receive that money, sued the mother. It went all through all the courts, all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And remember, initially, they wanted the proceeds and agreed to be paid to the daughter, but they failed to change the beneficiary document. Why do you suppose they failed to do that? Why didn't Mr. Kennedy's attorney or Mr. Kennedy say, okay, we need to go over to DuPont Savings and Investment and change the beneficiary from my soon-to-be ex-spouse to our daughter? Here's why. They both thought, since a decree of divorce is a legal binding document and had a more current date than the beneficiary form, it would overrule the beneficiary form and they really didn't have to do anything. Well, they were wrong. And here's what we learned. The beneficiary form trumps everything. It doesn't matter what a will says, what a trust says, what a decree of divorce says, or any other signed legal document. That now is a precedent. And again, the beneficiary form trumps all other types of contracts, decrees, and etc. So here's another problem with beneficiaries. You know, something that you have probably learned in your practice, or maybe even in your own family, people that save money are better at handling money than people who inherit money. Let me repeat that. The people that save the money, that worked hard and saved that money, are better at managing that money than the people who immediately inherit it. Because of this, it's estimated that the average inheritance in this country is spent between 90 days and 17 months. So not to pick on redheads, but see, this young lady already knows what she's going to do with the proceeds that she's going to inherit. And the point I want to make is this. The beneficiary form can do more than just determine where the money goes. It can also be you can use that, the proper beneficiary forms, to determine how it's paid. It's called a restricted beneficiary form. So you could, if you have a spendthrift child or grandchild, or your client does, you can dictate in that form that it'll be paid out over 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, or as in the case of the stretch IRA, it can be paid out over their entire life expectancy. Another reason to do this is if there's a perception that any of these beneficiaries may have an upcoming divorce. Well, you don't want your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law to walk away with half of your daughter's inheritance. So these beneficiary forms, like I said, they do more than determine where the money will go. They also determine how it will be paid out. So folks, that was the training part for today. We talked about IRA rollover marketing and IRA rollover training. This is my commercial. I wrote the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes and How to Avoid IRS Tax Traps. Essentially, it is a seminar in a book format. You give it to your client, get their commitment to read it, meet with them a week later. And it's also been very effective in building relationships with CPAs and other professionals, people that may want to refer you to their clients but just don't know how to. You give them a few of these books and say, hey, give these to your clients and have them call me after they read it. It's very simple. It's estimated that $324 billion rolled from plans to IRAs each year. Americans have close to $24 trillion in retirement assets. That includes qualified and non-qualified. And there are 10,000 boomers that need this information every day because they're facing that rollover decision. So, folks, this is the book that converts IRA prospects into clients. At the end of each chapter, the book is interactive. So at the end of each chapter, there's a place where they can write down while it's fresh in their mind, like this is the chapter about beneficiaries since we went through that today. They can take notes. They can write down any areas of concern. You flip the page over, and there's a place where they can put down any additional information that they would like you to provide them. And so when you give them the book, you point out to them that it's interactive. You can write down your notes, your questions, and anything you want information about. And when I see you next Wednesday, I will answer all of your questions. I will address all of your concerns and provide whatever additional information that you say that you want. So folks, something we've done new with the book, it now can be personalized with your photo and bio on the back cover. Now let me make this clear. This is not in any way insinuating co-authorship or authorship. If you'll notice up in the upper left-hand corner, it says, this book is provided to you by, and this is Jim Anderson Financial Services Company, etc. So that can be you on the back cover. There's a one-time setup charge of $90. That goes to Digital Book Designs, and they create these custom covers so that you can have your photo, bio, etc. on that back cover. Here's another example. Here's Mark Goldstein's cover. Safe Money Alliance, so you can put your logo on there, all your contact information, bio, mission statement, whatever you want on that back cover. Here's one I wanted to show you. If you look down at the bottom where the red arrow is right down here, most of the people that are using this book, or at least half of them, have a securities license. We have a requirement. If you have any type of a securities license, we need to add your securities disclaimer at the bottom. And incidentally, not one broker-dealer or RIA platform has refused to approve this book for consumer use. So you won't have any difficulty with your compliance people. Here's another one. I like this one a lot because I like that full-length picture, and I like the as seen on NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, etc. We sell the custom cover books They come in cases of 50. We can't print less than 50 at a reasonable cost because it is a custom order. So a case of 50 books with custom covers is $530.50. That includes shipping. So if you take the shipping out, you're actually paying less than $10 a book. And incidentally, the book retails for $19.95, so you're getting it for less than $10 with your photo, bio, etc. on the back cover. Now here's something else. My creative team came up with this idea. I didn't like it at first. They said, David, why do you have to have your face on the front cover? Your name's on there. Why do you have to have your face? So they brought this to me and had me look at it, and they said, my face on the right side of this cover is detracting from Ron, who's offering this book to his client. We need to attract more attention to him. So we recreated the cover, and we just took my face off. And you notice, when you look at this, now Ron's photo, even though it's the same size, it looks a lot more prominent. Now let me go back. Here it is again, with my face on the cover. Now I'm going to take it off again so that you can see how much more that attracts attention to Ron for his custom back cover. So folks, the complete IRA rollover system includes the seminar in a book. If you choose, the 10 hours of online IRA distribution training, you got a little taste of that training today. It is sales-oriented training. It's marketing training. I do go through all of the technicalities that you do need to know, but we turn all of those into a marketing approach that you can use in the field immediately. The course Keys to the IRA Kingdom is now online. It's on demand so that you can learn the secrets of getting these IRA rollovers from the comfort of your home or your office. It's smartphone and iPad compatible. I host the entire 10 hours, and it's very much like what you saw today, except, it's my voice over the PowerPoint with one exception. You can pause it, you can rewind it, you can fast forward it, you can drill down on the areas you want, you can go through the online course as many times as you want. This way, you're going to get more out of it. So the class is online. You can attend the Keys to the IRA Kingdom on demand, at your own pace. The online training room is open 24/7. Believe it or not, I see people that are signing on at 1 a.m. Sunday morning or just really odd hours, but it's at your convenience. Within 24 hours of registering for the course, you'll receive a training link. This is going to come from my IT department, and when you open it up, you'll see a link that looks just like this one, Keys to the IRA Kingdom, etc. Click on that link, and then you'll have a username and a password. You type in your username and password. Folks, you can begin training immediately. Also, there are some training materials. They arrive about 5 days after you register. That includes an IRS Publication 590 that has been tabbed, highlighted, and re-indexed so that you can prove everything you say to your consumer is correct. It is one of the best consumer sales pieces that we've developed because it's written by the IRS. All we've done is highlighted, underlined, tabbed it, and re-indexed it so you can go right to the page that you want to prove your point. You also receive 74 pages of pre-taken type notes. Excuse me, that will have all of the graphics and charts that are in the course, so you have a permanent record. You can stay in the course as long as you want. There's no time limit. So let me tell you a little bit about the course, and I'm going to talk to you about the Insurance WebEx discount. My online course is $12.95. The website you go to is irakeys.com, and you'll see a online course registered now button, like right here, a red button. But to everybody on this broadcast, because it was sponsored by Insurance WebEx, you will receive a 50% discount by using this code. The promotional code is KEYS50. That has to be in caps. KEYS50. So I'm going to show you how to use it. And incidentally, when you type that in there, your price will drop from $12.95 to one-half, which is $647.50. So here's how you register. You go to this website, www.irakeys, just like car keys, irakeys.com. I'll leave that up there for a second in case you want to write it down. Again, it's irakeys.com. Once you go to that website, this is what you're going to see. This is my picture in the upper right-hand corner. If you go just below my photo, you go right down here where it says Online Course, Register Now. Just click on that. That will take you into the cart, and you'll see it's showing the course at $12.95, and it says Quantity 1. But notice it says Enter promo codes on next page. So you just add one course to the cart. Once you've done that, down here below the blue lettering, you type in that promo code, KEYS50. Keys 50, remember it's got to be in caps. Now, I get a lot of phone calls because people miss this step. Once you type in Keys 50, to set the new promo code, you have to hit this little yellow promo code button just to the right of the field where you typed in Keys 50. If you don't, it won't change the price. So you just click on that promo code. It'll take you to the next page. You'll see it reduced the course by $647.50. Your total checkout is $647.50. There is a little shipping charge for the materials. From there, ladies and gentlemen, you just click proceed to checkout. And everybody on this webinar, you're going to get an email from me, I said, either this afternoon or sometime tomorrow morning. And it's going to have a link that allows you to read the ebook. It's actually in a PDF format. So if you want to scan it or read it thoroughly before you make a decision, if you want to use it with your prospects to develop IRA rollover leads, you'll have all that information in your hands. So if you'd like additional information about my online course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom, or having the book Top 10 IRA Mistakes with your photo, bio, logo, contact information, etc. on the back cover, you can contact me directly. My name is David F. Royer, R-O-Y-E-R. Telephone's 214, you can see it right there, 214-705-0124. Or if it's easier for you and you just have some questions, you can email me at david@irakeys.com. Folks, we came up right on 40 minutes on the dot. Thank you very much for spending this time with me today. I hope this small portion of the course that I taught you today about using beneficiary forms to capture large IRA rollover accounts, I hope you can start using this in your practice immediately. And folks, let me help you make 2017 your very best year ever. Thank you again for being on. Make it a great day.